is here.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? It's Maisha and Jen, your favorite internet friends. Jen's a giraffe, and I am a goddess from Africa. Um,
That's true.
Pause, because what I was gonna say was not appropriate. Um, Giraffe and the African goddess. A giraffe and an African goddess meet online.
This is the start of a great joke, I think.
I don't even know what to say next. You should finish it.
Wow, I don't know.
It's all good. Good morning. Well, Jen, I will have some breaking news for you before we have our finally one-on-one conversation. Do you know how much money we've raised, Jen?
Oh, no, I don't. I haven't looked today.
$3,104.
All right, all right. Oh, there's so
Yeah.
much space on that bar, friends. We
Look
need
at
to
that space.
close the gap.
We do.
But
I don't know.
celebrating where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sankofa, right? We look forward while we enjoy the
Yeah.
histories of the past.
We are like literally living in past, present, future because 3 days ago we were at zero. It's like $1,000 a day almost. So, you know, it's
It
humans
all
like you that make this possible. It's humans like you. All right, Jen. Well, let's talk about social media. Let's talk about what's happening in the world today.
Oh
Shall
my
we?
gosh. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. I just posted a video because I noticed like I'm doing my just usual check-in, like, what's going on? And it was like I could feel the contortions of my face. Like, oh my God. I say this
Doing my
with
just
love and I say this with spice. Y'all are fucking reactive as hell. And you need to do something about it. That's myself included, but it is wild. It is
Is it? I don't
wild
know.
there.
I'm not looking at people's timelines, Jen. Um, but all I know to tell people to do is to get off the internet and get in their bodies. Um, but it seems like you're noticing something a little bit more visceral.
What I'm noticing is not a connection of all the pieces of yes, get offline, get in your bodies, and reconnect, ground, do all those things, but that doesn't mean go away forever. I think there
Mm.
is either or happening, and we've talked about all the time. We want to divest from either or thinking. So there is a way to be on social media and protect your peace. There is a way to connect and be in your humanity, see other people's humanity, and it's just not happening. I don't know if this is like where people drop into road rage and forget that people are human beings behind the wheel. Like it is. And I think it is ableist to say that you cannot do the work online, to say that there's no point getting in those comment feeds. Like, yes, it is the Wild West, but I do believe that it is very dangerous to say the only way we can do this work is in person. I think we've got to figure out how to cultivate fortitude and resilience to be online. I don't know. I'm going to get real super tangenty, so I'm just going to sip my coffee.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because that's one of the biggest things that my work has pretty much been online and offline. I do both. But
Yeah,
one of the biggest
it should be both.
one of the biggest barriers I face is people telling me that I got to get off the internet. And it's like, you have to have room for both because you're ableist, you're leaving people behind. We have members of our community, specifically, Jen, they can't meet in person. Or if they can meet, we can go to their houses. But then, even that, after we meet people, their bodies just tap out. And so it's that all or nothing thinking. As you said that, that's what came to me right now is this constant all or nothing thinking. If this, then that. Well, if the world's falling apart, I'm going to fall apart with it. And no, you don't have to fall apart. And I think that's what I appreciate about the class that you're teaching in an hour is that you are helping us know and remember that we do not have to fall apart, that there are skills that we have access to reach, to simultaneously learn how to be present with ourselves before we can even try to be present for someone else.
Yes. And sometimes I think, and anybody who watches like my Instagram comment or content, I run into this place where I'm talking about stuff, and then towards the end of the video, it's like, listen, I can't give you what you need in a short, cute little video on the internet. Like you've got to get into practice with this stuff. So I understand that it's hard. I think my question is, if you're unwilling to do the work to improve your skills of communication, your written communication on social media, then get offline. I think there's so many different ways to start evolving this. And it's real easy for people to think that we're going to get into some kind of touchy-feeliness with this. And I get lots of comments of, oh, well, it's nice when it works because, you know, people are practicing it perfectly. But that's what we're doing with direct compassion communication, right? Is like, yes, rooted in nonviolent communication, but we aren't practicing perfect formula because we don't live perfect formula. And so trying to figure out like, where am I showing up? First of all, like, what are my edges? What are the things that I can do about the way that I'm communicating? Like, what are my triggers so that I know how to navigate those? And where are my strengths? So Jim Mansky was unfortunately passed recently, but he's an NVC practitioner. And he would talk about strengths and edges. And very often you use your strengths to support your edges. So look at where your triggers are, but look at where your strengths are. Like maybe you have a real edge in dissolving enemy images, but you've got a strength in presence. Like, you know how to hold space. And so it's like, use that skill to support the other. I think, wow, yeah. I'm going to take another sip of coffee because I'm going on a tangent again.
Another sip of coffee. I think we're not taught these skills. You know, I've been saying for years, like, conflict is a teacher. We don't know how to be human. It's at the point now, Jen, where I've started drafting a workbook on being human again, because we don't know what that means, because we literally, like, I really feel like we don't understand how we're programmed every day. We are programmed to be this way, and we can rewire ourselves with repetition. So if your repetition, Jen, is a tragedy happens, get online, get on social media, go see what your favorite creators have to say, find other white people or Black people or people who don't agree with you and take your righteous anger out on them. You have repeated this pattern since 2020. Most people don't realize you have been in the same pattern since 2020. And until you make a decision to make a different choice every day, in practice with yourself and possibly in practice with others, you will continue to make the same decision. Jen, I don't think people are consciously aware that they're making this choice. They're just making the choice.
No, that's exactly what it is that's why it's reactivity, right? It's like,
Right.
we're so dysregulated. And I know this word is overused and potentially abused. You have a right to feel righteous anger. You have a right to be activated. You have all of that is sacred. I'm not taking that away. But I think what we talk about is, and we mentioned the work of Thich Nhat Hanh in this, is of, we don't rehearse our anger, we process it. So use the wisdom of that anger and reactivity that's showing up and figure out what is it, just to slow down with the pause and to honor it. Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of the Center for Nonviolent Communication, who I started my training with, he often would say, when furious, get curious. So use that to get curious rather than to arm yourself with a weapon that you're now going to bludgeon yourself and others with.
Right.
And I really, here's a sneak peek at this workshop that you mentioned that's coming up. What time is it? I don't even know. It's coming up in a few hours. You still have time to sign up, friends.
When is it coming up?
It's coming up at noon Pacific.
Okay.
4 Eastern. I always have to use my fingers for my time zones. The sneak peek I want to give you is, it isn't always about how do I handle the people who piss me off on the internet. That isn't just the lesson. We'll do that too. We can talk about that too. But I think the more powerful and empowering and possible place is, am I seeing my community in these comments? Where am I noticing people in that righteous anger, spiraling out of control, coming in with attack? Where can we show up and say, oh, friend, man, I really see how upset you are. I agree. And validate them. We put so much energy in rounding up the problematic trolls. And let's talk about trolls, bots, sock puppets, and any other number of things that aren't even real people. So it's like, connect with the real I'm going to take another sip of coffee. I'm tangenting again.
Well, that's the thing, Jen, that I want to add to this conversation is we don't know how to connect. We have been socialized to live this like puzzle piece compartmentalization versions of our lives. And so, because in 2020, people were told, go call people out, go call in your friends, it's repetition. You only know how to go look for the comments that don't agree with you. So then you do that codependency bullshit of making everyone be agreeable, or you can't be in community with you. Because I can tell you this, I'm in community with people that most white folks don't agree with. And that is countercultural because I don't want to be in an echo chamber.
Yeah. Yes.
And the fact of I just keep coming back to the space of what's happening is literally the news is breaking. Now there's breaking news influencers. You're going to those influencers, you're getting triggered, and you're not resetting your nervous system. You're choosing the same repetitive behavior. So people don't even realize the people in the comments aren't real. I remember out during on October 7th, right? When that happened, I remember me and you had calls with so many different people. But I remember one specific instance where this person was in the comments and I was in the DMs, and I realized this is not a real person.
Yeah.
So now not only are we fighting each other, we have a manufactured version of people that we're fighting with.
And it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference.
Mm-hmm. So now you don't know if you're talking to a human or if you're talking to AI.
Right. So there's so much energy wasted on the internet, but the answer is not to disappear. That doesn't have to be the answer.
But most people choose the answer, and that's the most heartbreaking point about it, is that we say we aren't in choice, but we actually are in choice. It's just we don't remember that we have a choice. And that's why I keep saying, hey, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. And it's hard to slow down when there's so much happening.
There's so many different places my brain is going right now. I'm just trying to slow it down because I also feel myself, and I'm sure those of you in the comments probably are with me on this feeling of we get into this place of saviorism, basically, that wants to go fix everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't what I'm asking for with this training. It isn't about how to be better at changing minds. I think there is a energy that I get when people come into workshops is they think they're going to get a script, even though there are phrasings and things that can come up that are helpful. It's not about perfecting the language to the point where I will say the thing that finally gets you to understand me. Yeah. It is slowing yourself down enough to understand that empathy is not obedience and it is not agreement. I don't need to finally intellectually agree with what you are saying, or for you to intellectually agree with what I am saying for us to find connection. And connection is not always the goal. There's so many different places. What's the goal? Do I want to foster connection with the troll in the comments? Or do I simply want to just protect my peace and not take the bait? That's where some of that just fortitude and resilience against the bait. That's the reactivity that I was talking about at the beginning. It's like, y'all are taking the bait. There's
over and over again.
And I got to think that that's just from that you're so out of your body, which is where you would say, you keep saying, like, to get back into our body so we're not so reactive.
Yeah, that's social media, when they created this, I really believe the intentions of it was connection. But what happened is that, as a person who during those social media years, I was trained in marketing, I've watched the patterns, and it's now like, how they have to say the tech bubble? It's like we're at the social media bubble, but the humans don't know how to human anymore because they've been so trained by the data to be kind of like sucked in.
Yeah.
And it's I could say slow down and get in your bodies all day, but it's almost like I just need to go live and just be quiet and hold a sign. Say, 3 minutes, just sit with it. That's my meditation practice. Sit with it. We need to learn how to sit with it. like, okay, um, I'm seeing the reaction of white people, but like, especially with what happened with 1776, I need to be careful what I say. 1776 decides to go into another country, and most folks are in white bodies are reacting. And most folks I know that are bodies of culture are clinging. We're holding, we're bracing, because in our bodies, we remember this. And it feels like in white bodies, you all are just becoming aware of what brown and black and indigenous bodies have been telling you this whole time. So we have a culture of people who are reactive. We have a culture of people who are bracing. And all I can say in this moment, I have no hot take, but all I can say is take a breath and disconnect. Even if it's just for an hour, even if it's just for 30 minutes, make a different choice. Like when I know I need to get to myself, I watch the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance and I fast forward all the way to the end because there's something in that music that says turn the TV off. I turn the TV off, and my TV, I just did it a week ago, and my TV is barely on because music for me is a programming. So one of the ways, Jen, I think that people can get into their body is by literally, we have to start thinking of tools. My tool is movement, music, and dancing. Right. So, what is the tool? Your tool, Jen, could be, well, I know how to go straight into self empathy, And for me and you, it's how do we build the resiliency and the fortitude to be patient because we're herding cats. That's what it all feels like. We're herding these cats to say there's a different way. You can make a different choice. And it's just this constant, like, it's almost like you can make a different choice. Wake up and make a different choice. Get up today and make a different choice. Choose something different.
I think that's the choice part of the pause that asks before I do anything is what is my goal of why do I want to react to this comment? Why do I want to post this thing? Why do I whatever my action is? Like, what is my goal with it? That first of all, the slowing down of asking that question is where you'll notice, oh, I'm totally dropped in my saviorism right now of trying to be a busybody and take, like, okay, the stuff we talk about with trying to remove the agency from Black bodies actively choosing to do liberation work and trying to take that away and say, no, you need rest, which of course you do, but you also need agency. And so just in noticing, like, where am I showing up? Because this happens to me personally. I will be having a dialogue and a comment section on my own post with somebody who is, yes, they are what I would label as problematic. I'm fine. I know how to handle that. They might as well be saying I'm a poopy head. Like, I'm fine. But you come in and with all your reactivity to what they're saying, because you forgot whose house you're in, because you think the internet is just one flat surface that everybody's just out here in the Wild West. No, you just came into my house where I'm having a dialogue with somebody who I'm actually getting somewhere with, and you come in with your energy that is in agreement with what I'm saying. Yes, I acknowledge you and I are aligned on these principles. And what you have to say is not the problem, but hello, please. So it's just, what was your goal? In that moment, that's your saviorism, thinking that I need saving because it looks like I'm being attacked. Maybe I am, but I'm okay. So there's a lot. Wow. Yeah. In the session today, we'll talk more about all the different ways that people are engaging, that it isn't just one thing. There's the post itself. Is the post even your own, or is it somebody else's? Is there somebody coming into the comment and then there's a comment under that and a comment under that? And there's all these different outshoots of what is happening. And it's like, this is not a flat surface. People are treating it like the Wild West. It is not like that. And it gets messy quick. And by the way, all of the things that we're going to talk about today also go towards all of your written communication, all the texting that you get, the traps that you fall for in that world. Like,
whoo. Oh yeah, I just fell for a big trap last week. But I just want to just name here something that is coming up for me as you're talking, and that is what is the goal? I don't think, for me, hearing that, I'm like, I don't have a goal. I'm just trying to talk. You know, how do people even not be reactive to get to answering that question? So is the question, like a person would ask, like, you log on to social media, you see something, is it to pause and say, what am I doing, or what is the goal? Or is it to, even before logging in, why am I getting on social media today? What's my goal in communicating on social media?
Yeah, you could also look at the question as what's my need? Because everything we do, think, or say, and anything
There we
anybody
go.
else does, thinks, or says, you're constantly doing something to meet your need. With every word it all gets granular like that. And so trying to figure out, like, what is the need I'm fulfilling with this particular action? Not just
Right.
typing on social media, but choosing this person at this moment with this content, like really drill down, because that's where you start to notice and check in with your body. Your body is telling you stuff all the time. If you're feeling constriction, you're having
Yeah.
an emotion. What is the emotion? Well, maybe irritation. Why are you irritated? A need is at risk. So what's the need at risk? Speak to the needs, not necessarily the wants. So that it is good feedback to consider a
Mm.
different way of phrasing that, because what's your goal might sound like what is it that you want, not necessarily
Yeah.
what is it the need.
What
And
is
not
the
that
need?
that clarity is not helpful too. Having clarity on what you want is important. Having clarity on what you need is even more important. Let me give you an example. So what I want is meeting a clear preference. This thing that I want would so beautifully meet my needs. But if I don't
Yeah.
know what that need is, I cannot find willingness and capacity.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother offshoot. I'm gonna drink some coffee.
Please drink some coffee. I see this is, I mean, I didn't log into social media. I didn't see anything, like, I guess because nowadays when I log in, I'm not looking for I'm not looking for
A fight.
I think I know what my goal is. Like, I know what I'm getting on social media for. I'm getting on social media to give a message. That's
Yeah,
it.
right.
And to connect, right? So for me, when I log on to social media, and this is the workshop that Jen keeps telling you about, it's on our website, healyourwayforward.org/events. I'll get a banner up so you all know where to find it. You have till noon to register for this event. But one of the things that paste this so y'all can
And you can
see.
see we have a discount for our members. So here's
Yeah,
another, you
so
see that other ticker scrolling there on the bottom, become a member, you get hooked into
yeah, so
that member
members pay a
pricing.
totally different fee than non-members, but when I wake up in the morning, I did wake up this morning. I'm catching myself. I'll get up and scroll, like, what am I doing? So then I got off and turned on a meditation that put me back to sleep for 2 deep hours. And
Mm.
so, we have to think about, why are we picking up our phones? Like, what is my intention? What is my need? What is my need? Because one of the things that I'm learning is that I get on social media to disassociate. I get on
Mm.
social media to disassociate because something uncomfortable is happening in my reality. And instead of tending to my reality, I can pick up my phone and I can zone out.
Which is a ton of the work you've talked about around addiction and breaking
Yeah.
all the different addictions. And you mentioned that social media is that sometimes.
And so if you are not even clear that I'm just going to say it. I'll have some data one day. All of us are addicts to social media. Because all of us of a certain age, I'll say, because when it first came out, all of us had friends all over the world. We didn't know how we were going to stay in touch with people we cared about, friends from high school, and we've been going like a slot machine for years. So if we've been slot machining for about 20 years, we are addicts.
Well,
And we have
yeah.
to learn how to become sober with our use of social media.
Well, and as any addict knows, the first thing you have to do is admit that you are an addict and to
Yeah.
give yourself grace for that. Let's give a real addiction example that people can chew on. Right now,
Yeah.
fentanyl is in absolutely everything. It is a crisis and an epidemic, and it
Right.
is deliberately being put into things because it is addictive. So things like Xanax and other things that may not have as an addictive quality, it's being infused in that by drug dealers and were to make it more addictive. So let's use the analogy here. Social media is also addictive because of the deliberate algorithms. Read Algorithms of Prescience, Sophia Noble, if I've got
Yeah.
that name
Or
right.
you can read my
Apologies, and
other
fix
book
me
that
if
I
I'm wrong.
can't find.
But having awareness of you don't have a problem because of a personal failing. Your addiction to social media is by design. And
Yeah,
giving yourself grace for that and empowering yourself to make a different choice, to know I am being abused and used. But
yeah,
it is also a wonderful tool for connection. Just like
absolutely.
having a glass of wine is not a problem. So figuring out how do I navigate this addictive space in a way that is rooted in integrity. And I love seeing a comment on the screen from
Yeah, it looks
Alicia.
like Alicia. Hey, Alicia, thanks for tuning in on LinkedIn. You said you love that reframe. Why do I feel the urge to react? What do I need? Thanks for wisdom. Thanks for the wisdom drop during my break from grading. Commenting to boost visibility on LinkedIn for two great liberation educators. Thank you both. Oh, Jen, she called us both liberation educators. Jen, Alicia, you didn't know. Give her the spiel, Jen. Are you a liberation educator,
No,
Jen?
I am not. No, I am not. And I do not. And this is important because sometimes people want to come to me with my safe white lady face. I give a lot of thoughts around the skills of nonviolent communication in my personal work with direct compassionate communication with Maisha and Mitzi and the work that we're doing at Heal Your Way Forward. But it is only so that I can apply a lens of that skill to liberation work. But I will never teach about liberation. That said, I understand it is a liberatory framework and a little complicated. So I received the gift of your message, but I love the pause, Maisha, to remind people, do not look to white faces for liberation work.
Yes, thank you,
I'll
Jen.
help beef up the side skills that tangentially, apply to it. But please don't ever let me teach about liberation work because I'm on the journey. I'll never, as we says, I'll never see outside my own whiteness.
Yeah. And I think it's important to name, like, my belief is that people in white bodies should not teach liberation work. That is a thorn in my side, because you're co-opting liberation work from Black and Indigenous bodies who have not gotten fair reparations or our lands back. And so most of what has been taught and learned comes from the Black liberation, Black power movements, the civil rights movements, the Indigenous-led Indigenous sovereignty movements, movements of reclaiming land. And what has happened is that they've been taken and turned into degrees and ways of knowledge that are not epistemic. So oftentimes I like to ask white bodies, what is your epistemology? How do you know what you know? And if most of what you know is around liberation work, who did you learn it from? Do you have the lived experience? There are some people in white bodies who grew up in all Black neighborhoods. There are cultures of white people. So this we can get specific. There are cultures of white people that have similar relationships to Black folks that culturally you can teach your lived experience, right? So culturally, if you were, I'm just going to say it, if you're Jewish, if you're Black and Jewish, if you are white presented and Jewish, if you are Italians, if you know your culture and you know your cultural history, there are parts of your culture where you can name your assimilation into the system culturally. You can name how your people had to struggle. However, that struggle is not the same as the Black and Indigenous struggle, because we have to consider whose ancestors were trafficked, whose ancestors' land was stolen, whose ancestors were put through horrible conditions, because a lot of it is some of our ancestors got to make a choice. That's what I said earlier. Some ancestors made the choice. Oh my gosh, land, the America of the free. Let's go. Let's jump on boats. Let's get there. I am not taking away your ancestral struggle. However, coming from ancestors who were human trafficked to stolen land, having ancestors whose land was stolen in the name of some white man's imagination to expand mankind. I'm sorry. You just can't. And this conversation is very hard because there are so many great white folks who do the work, but just because you do the work doesn't mean you should lead the work. Just because you know the work doesn't mean you should teach the work. Because I bet most of what you know came from Kimberly Crenshaw. Most of what you won't know came from Eduardo Duran. Most of what you know came from a person of culture. Where another example is like the whole, I'm gonna bring in Mel Robbins. Hey Mel, what's popping? Like the let them theory. Mel, you know that was not your theory. Your theory was based off of someone's poem that you have yet to give credit to. That is what digital colonization looks like. You went as a white woman and co-opted another white woman's work as your own. This is why you can't teach liberation, because a Black woman would know that is a dope poem. I'm writing a book. I would like to feature you and your story in my book. I would like to collaborate with you on my book. Those of us who aren't so far assimilated into whiteness and Black culture, we understand the power of collectivism and collective movement. Those of us who've drunken the Kool-Aid and want to take people's content and put it in Chat GPT because we want to be seen as the only one because you want to look at like somebody's savior, that's your problem. So that was a very long spiel on why I don't believe white folks should teach liberation work. If you want to talk to me more about it, you can book a coaching session. I'm happy to, you can compensate me for my time, and I'm happy to break it down for you specifically why you should not teach liberation work if you are in a white body. Yes, I have talked to Robin DiAngelo. Yes, Robin DiAngelo knows how we feel. And yes, me and Robin DiAngelo still can talk and have conversations because there's alignment in what we talk about. There's alignment in what we do, but she understands that I have this belief system and we wrestle with it. So again, I can be in relationship, to your point, Jen, of this conversation today. We can be in relationships with people that we do not agree with.
Yeah, empathy is not agreement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think too, just knowing how to know that what the difference is. I think the word is kind of plastered around, and so it's. I get why it would seem like I would call myself a liberation educator, and it's like, no, it's more that I am a liberated communication guide, or on my way to trying to be a liberated. So it's like I'm the content that I choose to niche down on happens to do with liberation work, anti-oppression work, fighting white supremacy, etc. But this can be applied to absolutely everything. I'm not teaching about that. I'm just using that as the example. And of course, as anybody who's in community with me knows, is it's like I'm always like challenge each other. If it does seem like we start dropping into that, like we have to be careful. Are we white bodies who are on the journey together and having conversation with each other because we should, or are we trying to teach each other something? No, that's not it. And definitely that's a plug for the community, as you see on the bottom of the screen there. Join the collective. These are the conversations that we're having.
Yeah. So to know more about our collective, you can go to healyourwayforward.org. On the front page, you can give a donation to our fundraiser, and or you can become a member. Becoming a member will get you your first anti-racist teaching the first Sunday in February, but it will give you access to our community chats, our community calendar, and stepping into the work, because now's the time for practice. We've done enough workshops, except for this workshop that Jen is doing today, which is super duper important. Learning to
call it something else. It's not, maybe it's not called a work. Like think of workshop in terms of like, you're not just sitting and listening. This is we are working together. We are practice. This is a practice session.
Yeah, we often call them practice groups. We just use the term of workshop because that sounds familiar to people in their bodies. I'm going to go to this workshop and learn a new skill. No, you're going to practice a new skill because practice makes presence.
There it is.
Anything else for today's workshop, Jen, that you want people to know about?
Yeah, yes, because it's 3 hours. I want people to know that for sure there will be ample breaks. This is a practice time. So think of it as kind of like a little mini retreat. But I think just to if you feel yourself saying, well, I'm not even on social media, still come, you write communication to people. I guarantee you send text. It still has value. Because the traps that we're falling into on social media are the same traps we fall into in text with each other. So it holds value. And if you're somebody who has said, I hear this all the time, there's no point in trying to change minds on the internet. It won't work. I'm sorry. I don't agree. I have evidence of the other. I get why you would say it is not worth my time to do that. 100% agree. And sometimes it's not worth my time. 9 times out of 10, I don't bother. But to challenge this belief that you have that there is no point, I don't agree. So come if you have those thoughts. Challenge the ableism of you that says you can't do the work online. Okay, let's talk. So I'm sure there's more I would say, but I'll leave it there.
I also want to add to that message of you can't do the work online. Listen here, baby. As a group that had over almost 1 million followers of people who are actually doing the work, you can do the work online. The problem is you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the work. But in a white body, you get a choice not to do it. See, you get a choice if you really are about this life. You don't have to live like you don't have to live like me, where you have to decide, yeah, I live in a nice neighborhood, but do I really want to go outside? No, my neighbors are staring at me because they've never been around Black people, so they're wondering if I'm a safe Black. Where people stare at you and try to figure out how you can afford to be in certain locations. You can feel the stare, but I told my kids the stare is a gift because they're trying to figure out because they don't know, because supremacy has told them that you're set dangerous. Walk with your head held high because you're not dangerous. You're a gift. And the minute you open your mouth, that's when you see shoulders drop and they're like, oh, okay, you're just like me. But you wouldn't know that because you're only in either offline action groups rooted in hierarchy and control because of your own fear of Black and Indigenous and people of culture, or you're only just like saying you want to do it and don't do it. Like y'all know I got some good friends in these internet, and not on the internet in real life. I call them like mentor teachers. And me and these mentor teachers, they're some of the most, they're big names. I like, Dr. Richard Schwartz, IFS therapy, and Dr. Tama, and like all of these great, amazing people. And my struggle is like, people don't really want to do the work. They're like, no.
And they don't know how to say that. They either don't even know how to know that about themselves, and they don't know how to say it to somebody else. That's the other thing that this work will help teach you, is how to know what it is and be brave enough to say it.
Like in this whole chapter of Heal Your Way Forward, I talk about recommitment, commitment versus interest on page 143. If you don't have this book, please get this book. I talk all about interest versus commitment. The reality is that you're interested and you're not committed. The moment you make a choice to change your behavior, to create neural pathways, your neuroplasticity will be like, oh, okay. Because your brain only does what your body repeatedly can remember it to do. Like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get up and scroll. Yeah. It actually is work. Like, self-work is actually work. It's breaking away from the Truman Show, where you wake up every morning, alarm goes off, hit the alarm, get up, jump in the shower, get out the shower, get the kids fed, get the kids out the house, go to work, sit at your desktop. Now it's like, wake up, scroll. Oh shit, let me jump in the shower. You're bringing your phone with you in the bathroom. You sit in the toilet, breaking news. Like, you have to break the cycle. You have to make a choice. So if you saw what happened yesterday, your invitation is to make a choice. If you want to learn how to have better boundaries on social media, to be more compassionate in your communication, this will not be the first time we do this, but come and learn how to cultivate that digital resiliency, how to hold compassion and boundaries on social media. Because for me, it doesn't make sense, Jen, that it's okay for state-sponsored media to be telling us breaking news and these breaking news influencers, but where are the voices that are reminding us we are actually better together when we're calm and have a regulated nervous system?
Well, that, or I can sense already the energy bubbling up in people of that right to the righteous anger. Yes. So get with people who will hear you and help you co-regulate. You don't have to do it alone. This is why we are also scrolling. It's because we don't know how to get that regulation from other people. We don't know how to say, Maisha, I have just noticed this and I'm freaking the fuck out, and I want to be able to drop the F-bomb, and I want to be able to be angry, and I want to be able to be in my beliefs and judgments and just let it all fly, because I know you're not going to collude with me. You're not going to drop into trying to fix me or calm me down or force me to be something other than I am in this very moment. Find somebody to give you empathy for what is triggering you on the fucking internet. Get in community. Get with your empathy buddies. Do not try to do it alone. Sorry.
Well, that codependent record individualism will be like, well, I'm in somebody's Patreon. I'm not by myself. I bet you in that Patreon not saying nothing. I bet you just like, yeah, this is great. Or getting activated when a comment doesn't agree with you. And instead of having the strength to push back, you sit in silence.
It doesn't have to be either or. If you don't have the strength. The other thing we're going to talk about is how to run yourself through a filter to decide, what is my capacity?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to fight every single troll. You don't have to also then disappear from everyone. It's a blend. It isn't either or. We've been saying that all morning.
I have a comment on social media. I'm not sure the context, but this person says we're looking for help, but we're dying in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for help, but we're dying on the streets, the physical streets and the online streets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Where is the help?
And some of that is we don't know how to ask for it. And then we've become abused when we finally get the bravery to ask for it, and we're rejected, and we never have the bravery to ask again because we are addicted to one source meeting our needs. This is what I'm talking about, building fortitude and resilience to understand that you cannot become attached to one thing. I cannot become attached to this troll on the internet changing his mind. I cannot become attached to this is going to be a side tangent, but you can think of all the things we're attached to, whether it's heroin or this troll on the internet.
Everything is feeding a dopamine reward. I want to say the comment was for a trans person who's living in Kenya and is living on the streets looking for help. But yes, in some African countries, being trans is not acceptable. So sending you love and compassion, my friend, and thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Big time. I just have so many things I want to say and so many ways I have to pull back because I have a class to teach in 10 minutes. But I will say, Jen, do you have any final thoughts to encourage people to show up today?
Know that just if you take away nothing, that part that isn't, there is no either or, there is no all or nothing. I think that invitation from Maisha's book, the commitment versus interest, there is a spectrum. Commitment doesn't have to mean every single minute, every ounce of your capacity, all of it. You find genuine capacity. Don't think that I'm asking you to become a social media warrior. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for you to become more of a human being on the internet. So I'll see you in a couple hours, maybe.
Yay.
And we'll do it again.
I hope you all join Jen. We'll do it again. In the meantime, always remember, if you need to find the event, go to healyourwayforward.org/events. You can find the event. It's also in the link in the description on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn. And then lastly, if you want to give us a donation, you can go to our website. Easiest way to find it, healyourwayforward.org. Give us a one-time donation or become a recurring member. We'd love to have you because it's going to take all of us to be in practice. You silly little giraffe. And until we see you again, friends, y'all keep living into your work. Peace and much love.
Bye, everybody.